Welcome to each and every one of you for our Universal Church of the Master Speaker Series. I'm Reverend Janet Childs, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you to be here on this special day. Once a month, we have a wisdom sharing with an incredible person or persons that have something on the spiritual nature or level to share. And this time, in our first meeting of 2024, we are so honored to have our Reverend Doti Boon, who has been a channeler of her spirit guide, Ma. She's a psychic, and she has brought us great wisdom and great understanding and great insight through Ma, but also through her own development of Center for Creative Living. And she has been a spiritual person for over half a century. And so I just want you to know that because there's a great deal of things that she has done. They're too long to express in this time that we have. But I want you to know that the Universal Church of the Masters Speaker Series is about igniting that light in all of us. And I don't know if you can see that candle, but it's a wonderful, wonderful candle that represents all of the light that we can bring to each other. And I don't know if you can see it's their infinity swirls on this candle.
Right.
That represents the infinity of giving and receiving that we can do for and with each other. And so we light this candle in honor of all of you, in honor of our Reverend Doti, who is going to be sharing her wisdom and her messages today, and the light that we bring to the world. And so even though the light is physically ignited here, it will ever be ignited in your heart. And the origami heart is the reminder of the healing when we come from the heart, we can bring to the world. And so that's what this is. And Reverend Doti will get this candle.
Thank you.
The next time I see her as a thank you gift. So thank you and welcome to each and every one of you.
And were you going to lead us in a prayer, Janet?
I will be glad to lead you in a prayer.
Wonderful.
So just relax.
This is the Reverend Janet Childs.
And I am so honored to be here. And so I just invite you to take a nice deep breath. Close your eyes for a moment, if that's comfortable for you, and let us lead each other in prayer. O Divine One, O Creator, we come before you with our hearts open. We come before you with our minds open. We come before you in all the ways that we know you, in the four directions, in the spirit world, in the material world, and in all of the ways that you are made manifest through us, and we are made manifest through you. We ask that you shower us with love, that you allow us to share our love in the best, most healing way, and that you allow our world to be filled with peace and healing, comfort, and community. May we come together in these troubling times and bring out the joyful, spiritual, amazing energy that we can bring when we gather together. And we ask this in all of your names with deep gratitude and deep thanks from our heart to yours in that infinity of love. And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you, Janet.
Yeah.
Thank
you, Janet. Well, welcome. Welcome. I want to talk to each and every one of you, because there are so many people that feel that if you're psychic or if you're gifted or if you hear spirit, you're unique and different. I don't think so, because I know people that have said, I had a feeling that was going to happen. That's being psychic. They say, I just knew that was going to happen. Where'd you get the knowingness? Where did you get the ability to feel that something was going to be happening? You all came in with a spirit guide. And that's what my spirit guide, Mahalalel, said to me, that everybody, that the creator wouldn't put us here alone, So each one of you have guidance, but you probably haven't heard from it because you didn't ask. You didn't say, hey, do I have a guide? Let's check this out. When I was teaching the ministerial classes, I was telling everybody how to get in touch with your spirit guide. And what I want to say is that when you're walking down the street and everything feels a little bit shiny, your guide's with you. When you say to yourself, I've got to be careful. I might trip and fall. Where are you getting that from? Your guide is there to protect you. There's so many times that each one of you hears from your guide. And so when you feel that tingly sensation, when you can see aura around things, when they just are shiny, or how many times have you seen the numbers 22? Or how many times have you looked at the clock and it said 12:30? When that is repeated over and over, that's your guide getting your attention that says, hey, wait a minute, I'm here. And I always picture people who say, I don't have a guide. I see their guide sitting on a rock just going, like, I'm here. But they haven't asked, they haven't opened up to let me come in. So think about that. Do you ever hear music just out of nowhere? You're walking along and all of a sudden a song comes on. And you turn on the radio and that song is playing. That's not just coincidence. That's your guide saying, you came in on a musical note. Music is a way you feel, see, hear things. And so start looking at that. When do I feel the best? And can you take up an instrument? Just think of what can I do? I talked to my son today. Many of you know Bob, and he's taking guitar lessons. He said, well, now that he's 60, he's going to take guitar lessons. And I thought, what told you to do that? And he said, Mom, I got the voice. Yeah, I know. That's what happened. A little voice said, why don't you take guitar lessons? And so that's what's happening. And, just that vibration that you feel you're not alone. You're not being stalked by something that's negative. Your guide is there. So open up. And how you do that is you just, before you go to sleep at night, close your eyes and just put out the energy and the request. Your guide wants to be invited. It doesn't want to just appear and scare you. Now, I was lucky. When I was 5.5 years old, I lived in a little town called Lancaster on the desert in Southern California. And I was in my playhouse. Now, I'm an old broad. This was during the Second World War. And so as I'm sitting there, this man appears, and he's all dressed in white. And I looked at him, and I thought, goody, somebody to come talk to me. I've always liked that most, is having people around. And he sat down, and he started talking. And I said, what's your name? And he said, Mahalaleel. And I said, I'm Doti. And then I said, what's that name again? He said, you can call me Ma. Well, that was great because I had a mom and I had a mommy. My grandma's name was Mom and my mother's name was Mommy. And now I had a Ma. And anytime I got lonely and I was the only child, I'd just sit there real quietly and say, Ma, let's play. And he'd come play games. And they were always fun games about what is the bird saying? And I'd say, the bird's singing. What's it saying? And he would open me up to the trees talking to me, the land talking to me, the water talking to me. And he said, they are all special. And I said, well, am I special? He said, yes, you are. And isn't it wonderful when you're not even going to first grade yet to be told that you're special? And so that's what Ma did. And my mother used to always say to me, Doti, you just think you're special. And I used to smile and say, I know I am. Bratty little kid. Is there anything you should be afraid of? Absolutely not. When you open up to spirit, it's a very positive thing. Now, if you want to protect yourself, many of you come from various religions where they have a way to protect yourself. And that protection could be to say the Lord's Prayer. That protection could be to cross yourself. That protection could be that you're going to be wearing a Star of David. Whatever that protection is, because we want to know that there's a being out there protecting us as we start talking to our spirit guide. So that's what happens. So people have been foretelling the future for as long as we know. The very first people that were on this planet started talking to gods and goddesses and drawing things on stone walls. Cave walls had pictures of hands with little tick marks around, showing that they were special, that there was light on them. And just recently, just in the 2023, they found out that most of those handprints were those of females. The females have forever been very religious. The goddess was on the land before they were talking about God. Does that mean one is better than the other? No, they're both the same. That's called creator or creation. So when you start saying, oh, I would like to talk to my guide, and I hope it's male or I hope it's female, your guide will be anything you want it because they don't care. We seem to be the only planet where gender is that important because Ma says we're just one of many, many, many areas of life where there are beings that believe in our creator. So when you think of that, okay, I can do this. I have the creator talking to me through a guide. And well, we're going to start out. Because how did people know that they could do something special? By doing something different. Way, 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 many, many centuries ago, way before time was started to be recorded, they would look at bones of animals. And because they would dry them out, they'd shake them up and toss them. And they would foretell the future and say to them, where were they going to be going for the best hunting? Or where was a water source? By reading the bones, the dried bones. Well, you and I know that spirit was in those bones. The bones themselves couldn't talk, but spirit could through it. And some of our earliest people, they read the smoke. They would light a fire and they would read the smoke and what it said to them about what they should be doing and where they should be going. And there again, the having food, having shelter, finding a mate, all of these things were just as important as they are now, but even more so in our very, very earliest people. And so they read the smoke, they read the bones, they read the water. Many, many tribes would be camped and they'd get a bowl of water and they'd swirl it and read what was going to be coming up, and it would foretell what was going to be happening. All through the Bible, last week, in fact, our wonderful Tim talked about Isaiah. But Isaiah prophesies more than any other being in the Bible. And when you think of the prophets that we have, and so prophecy, psychic ability, of the sage, old wise women were always very important. So many beings have been telling us what's coming up for us in the future. But you have the gift. And, anytime you say, well, I don't because, no, there's no because. You do. Just find it. Find it within you. And all that means is that you just can go into what is different in my life when I speak to Creator. Do I feel better? Do I vibrate? Are colors brighter? What happens? And then start saying, I'm going to do that more. Some people get that feeling through books they read, through literature, and they'll read something and it'll just make them excited about being able to look forward. Looking back into our past sometimes gives us ideas of what we don't want to do, but it very seldom says this is what you need to do in the future. And when I tell you, each one of you have some kind of a spirit guide, it always amazes me that people just stop there when they say no and they stop. Start reading up some and finding out. When we were on the Hopi reservation, I took a group of people. I used to do sacred journeys, and we were there on the Hopi reservation. We watched them do a deer dance. And all the men and one little boy, about 2.5, were dressed up to look like deer, and they started dancing. And as you watched them, they morphed into deer. You could actually see the spirit of deer taking over. And this was the way that they have been doing this dance for centuries, way before, quote, white man came here. These indigenous beings have been doing that. And they knew that if they put out that energy, that the deer would come to them. So when you think about the power that you have, start finding ways to utilize it. Some of you read tarot cards. Some of you are into astrology. Some of you are into numerology. There's so many things that people study to find out about themselves and the future. So that's why every time they say, Dottie, do you want to do predictions? I don't know how many years I've been doing predictions. I said, sure. And I start out saying, what I do, you can do. You just need to get in touch with your guide. And as I said, it might appear as a male, it might appear as a female. Sometimes people say, my cat is my guide. And I'll say, no, your cat is your cat, but your guide is energy and saying your cat. There you have that wonderful energy between them. Okay, because animals feel senses. They will react to it, something you can't see or hear. So many of our animals are being guided to help us. And when we were in Glastonbury, many of you have heard this story because it was so amazing. We were going by the Glastonbury Abbey, which was built in 873. That's a pretty old building, when you figure that's only 3 digits in there, and there it says 873. And I picked up a spirit, and this little boy, it's nice when you can see spirits. This little boy was sitting there, and he was crying. And I said, what's the matter? And he said, I can't go to heaven. I said, what do you mean you can't go to heaven? He said, the priest said I couldn't go to heaven because I'm a bastard. And I said, that means? And he said, my mommy wasn't married to my daddy. I said, okay. And I said, what if I tell you can go to heaven? And he said, but I don't know how. And I said, well, come with us. So here I am walking along, as everybody in the group is used to me talking to something they can't see. I'm talking to this little boy. He maybe was about 9 or 10. And we're walking along, and he's talking to me about what it was like in 873. And so we went up to our bedroom, which was on the 2nd floor, for me to get a jacket. It was a little cool out. And I noticed a butterfly on the drape. 2 stories up is a red, white, and blue butterfly. And its wings were closing and opening very slowly. And I knew this butterfly was dying. And I said to Brian, our little boy, I said, Brian, we're going to take this butterfly downstairs. Come with us. We went downstairs, and I put the butterfly on a branch. And I said to Brian, this butterfly is going to take you into heaven. And he said, I love butterflies. And I said, I know you do. And just then the butterfly died. And you could just feel it. Corky was with me, and she said, he went, didn't he? I said, he went. And she said, how did you do that? And I said, I was open to hearing from spirit when we were walking around the Glastonbury Abbey. But each one of you you don't realize you are. So that's why I always want to talk to people about feeling the spirit of things, animals, people. And I don't know how many of you are afraid of dying. You're afraid of death. Just stop it. Say, wait a minute. I am here for a very short time, but I can come back. Or I can go somewhere else, because as Ma says, there's a lot of other places where there are beings that you can identify with. So we have had psychic practices on this planet for just about as long as there have been people here. Those that can foretell a future. Those that believe in dead ancestors. Those that believe in the I Ching. For those of these beings who believe in so many different ways. And so much a part of our religion have been told and foretold by beings who had that spirit. Well, so know that you do. You have that much spirit, and it's great. Now, the 19th century, we started witnessing a lot of this spiritualist movement. But people who say, we believe in Creator, but we also believe that we can talk to spirit. And so I know many of you have heard the story of the Fox sisters, who were mediums, who started the spiritualist movement. And they did readings for Abraham Lincoln and his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln. And they were so well known that people would travel for miles to go see them and talk to these women. And from them, in the United States, spiritualism started spreading. And it spread in so many different ways. One of the people that worked with it is Ernest Holmes, that started religious science. There were just so many different beings. And also our church, when it got started, was very, very early in the 1900s, in 1908. And so, and that's the Universal Church of the Master. And these were beings that were being prosecuted and persecuted because they could talk to spirit. And so they formed a religious movement called the Universal Church of the Masters. And that's what we're doing. That's who we are. And that's why I'm here and I belong to this church. So that's bringing you up to what I feel is important, is that each one of you know how good you are. So who is Ma? Well, when Ma appeared and he was all dressed in white, he had this thing on his head that I assumed was a bandage, because this was the Second World War. And I thought, oh, the poor guy's been hurt in the Second World War. Well, it wasn't until I was 12 that I realized it was a turban. And that's 12 is when television came out. And there was a guy named Carla Pondit who used to play the organ. And he had this white thing on his head. And I said to my mom, what's that? She said, it's a turban. And I realized that my spirit guide was wearing a turban all this time. And so it was very interesting to realize that he had come from a place where there was a different religion. And Ma was Hindu, still is Hindu, as his religion. But he's also very much in touch with all religions and all faiths and what's happening. And so when he said that he was here to guide me, I thought that was just to guide me. I didn't realize he was going to start talking about other people. And he did. He started talking about people who were sick and what he felt they should be doing to help themselves. He started talking to me about people who were so sad and depressed, what they could do to help themselves. And as a young girl, I would say this. I would walk up to somebody and say, well, I feel you should. Because if I said, my guide Ma, they'll say, who's Ma? And we get all involved in that. So it was easier for me to say, I feel that you should. And so that kind of traveled with me into when I started having my own children. And I would be in my bedroom and my son would say, my youngest son, Bob, would say, I'm leaving, Mom. And I'd just lay there and say, not until you put your bowling ball in the closet and you haven't made your bed. And he'd say, okay, I'm leaving, Mom. And I'd say, Bob, you need to put your shoes away. And he'd go, it is so difficult to have a psychic mom. She always know what I'm doing. And I said, well, I try not to be involved in all you're doing because you need to grow and you need to move forward. But I can tell when you are doing something that you need my help. And so that's what both of my boys did. They said they could just kind of stop and think, and mom would help them get out of certain situations that we're involved in. For those of you know me, you know I've had many, many foster kids, and I feel that children are so important to all of us, important to having kids raised with spiritual ideas and energies. So, what does this all have to do with predictions? Well, I started asking Ma, what's coming up for 2024? And what he said is humans are going to start living longer. It used to be if you heard of anybody living to be 90, you were amazed. Now, if you hear of people living to be 100, you're not as amazed as you were just 10 years ago. He said people are going to be living longer, but they don't know how to take care of themselves. In other words, we're having more and more sick people that are holding on because they want to live longer, that are staying in care places. And the care places are having such a hard time keeping up with the amount of people that are checking in because they're in their late 90s or their hundreds, and their health is really difficult. And so they need a lot of people to help take care of them. And what Ma says, we're all excited about people living longer, but please live better. Find ways to stay on the planet in a healthy way. And the healthy way is thinking positive thoughts. So anytime I think of anything negative, Ma says, Dottie, let's change that thought. Let's think of something different. So for you, if you're talking to somebody who's in their late 80s, 90s, and they're just really negative, just very gently say, I heard this lady talking, and she said that if you think positive thoughts, your life is longer and better. And see if we can't get some of this changing, because a lot of people are going to be living longer. We're also getting hotter. This coming year, this 2024, is going to be the hottest year on record. Please plan accordingly. Please look around and say, how can I cool off my house? How can I make sure wherever I go, I have water with me? What can I do to just cool the atmosphere around me? I don't know if you know, the reason I always wear a hat is because I burned out my hair when I was hauling hay in the desert when I was young. And so I don't have much hair on top. So I've always worn a hat or a wig. Janet's nodding. She's known me for, years, and I've always had something on top of my head, unless you come by the house. And then you get to see that all my non-glory at that point in time. But this heat that we're going to have, find out how to handle it, how you can protect yourself. We're also going to be having more earthquakes and more tsunamis. Mother Earth is moaning right now. There's been so many deeper holes being built into the Earth's crust that the Earth itself is starting to respond. I think of Mother Earth as a living thing, and many people do. There's an energy there, and she is starting to rebel a bit. So every time you think of Mother Earth, instead of saying, oh, darn, it's too hot, say, I'm sending cooling energy. You are so powerful. Each one of you is so powerful. Just putting out positive energy can change your environment. Start looking at how you can do that. Now, the tsunamis, I mentioned this when I did my talk last Sunday, and when I did predictions, the first. And we had a tsunami that week, and I was like, oh, that's pretty fast. Yes, it's Mother Earth, and then a lot of things are going to be happening, so just know that. Ma still talks about desalinization. He says that there's going to be desalinization distilleries where they're going to be able to take the salt out of the water from the ocean, but they're also going to be retrieving a lot of the minerals and a lot of the precious ore that is in the water, a lot of gold metal, a lot of that type of thing. So it should be worthwhile to desalinize the ocean. So think about that. If you have anything that comes up on a ballot about desalinization, be sure to vote for it, because this is going to become a political football. And Ma says, but it's also going to save the planet. So start looking at that. As we know, a lot of ideas have come up in the past that didn't get passed. In the past didn't get passed. You know what I mean. and because people didn't know about it. So now I'm giving you a heads up. The environmental cost of what's going on in Gaza has been immense. All the junk that's being taken away by the Mediterranean Sea is going to start getting it more murky and cloudy. We think of wars as loss of life, but also start thinking of the loss of atmospheric conditions that we have had. Start praying. Many people pray for things for themselves, and that's great because life for you starts with you. But what Ma says is please pray for the beings who are at war, the beings who have been hurt. Make a list as you hear things that strike that chord, or you feel that vibration from somebody who's talking about what's happening to their family. Make a list. So at night or in the morning when you first get up, take a time once in 24 hours, put out prayer. Prayer doesn't have to be something formalized. Prayer can be, dear Creator, please help the people in Palestine. Please help the people in Israel. Please help Gaza. Please help the people in Iran. Please help. But help the people. You are powerful. And they have shown that. Olga Warrell, who was this amazing mystic, you could see her when she was in a hospital healing people. Little bubbles go to the room where she was helping people heal. You could actually see the healing take place. Each one of you has that ability, but you have to believe in you and tell your guide, I want to start being a healer. And start healing yourself. And then, like with everything, you have to start with you. And then it'll start moving forward. And it'll spread and spread so that you can heal everybody. Let's talk about that, because what Ma says, the anger in the United States right now can tear it down. What are you angry about? What does your anger change? People who attend my services on Sunday hear me say this all the time. You will never argue with somebody and change their mind. So why are you arguing? Stop it. If somebody says that ball over there on the lawn is purple and you know it's pink, arguing about what color it is isn't going to change it. You just say, oh, that's nice, or thank you, or that's interesting. My favorite one is that's interesting. So I hear people going, well, this is, and I go, that's interesting. Or one of the strongest words I ever use is, okay. Okay. Someone says, well, they're a da-da-da-da-da, and I go, okay. All it says is, I just heard you. It doesn't say I agree. I just says, I just heard you. Some people just want to be heard. And what my spirit guide says is that you need to find a way to stop what's happening. You can't stop everything else, but you can stop you from being angry, frustrated, sad. You can stop you right now from all the negativity that's in you. The fear. I've got people living in fear. They're afraid to go outside because something horrible might happen. And stop it. Just say it's not going to happen. What have you done? You've just reversed where things are going. And you can reverse just about anything. And so, as violence continues in the U.S., we're still telling other countries what to do. Stop that. There again, you don't live under the same conditions and you don't know. And Ma says, the more we want to tell people how to run their life, the less community we have. Life should be about community. And Ma says that idea of being in a communal place, you're in a neighborhood. Talk to the people next door. Talk to the people across the street. Christmas Day, I got out the car and I said, Merry Christmas to a man who just moved in across the street. And he just looked at me and said, and a Merry Christmas to you too. I don't know his name, but I know he's a human being living on my block. That's all I need to know about him. Think of what you can do to let people know that you're kind, loving, supportive, because Ma says that's what we need to do. Somebody asked me, well, who's going to win the election? And Ma says, right now, if the election was today, Biden would win the popular vote and Donald Trump would take the Electoral College. He said the only way that's going to change is if they take Mr. Trump off some of the ballots. So what are you going to do with that information? Start putting out whatever you want. If you want Donald Trump to win, start saying, okay, I'm going to make sure. If you want Joe Biden, start. But you've got to do something. Don't just want to be one of those that sits there and gripes about everything, but doesn't do anything. I'm amazed at how little turnout we get at elections in California. Because Ma says we've got one of the most populous states in the union, and we don't show it by our elections. So come on, folks, let's do that. He also says that people are not listening to what Kamala Harris has to say. She's an intelligent woman, but she doesn't get any space on the air or on when you look at all of the devices you have, you hardly ever see her. Start saying, I want to know more about her, so she can get some exposure if that's who you're interested in. Okay, right now we have no idea who's running for with Donald Trump, but it's the same thing. Let's get exposure about our political candidates so we can find out what's happening. Now, if Mr. Trump chooses a female running mate, he might also have different things coming up. It's hard for my guide to tell me what Mr. Trump is thinking. I'm sure that doesn't surprise anybody. I think sometimes I think Mr. Trump has a hard time with what he's thinking, but it's just that's what happens when you get up there. I don't know how many of you have gotten up to talk in a microphone and you just went blank. That happens. But there is no plan B if Donald Trump gets convicted. Then it's going to be a different ballgame. So that's what my prediction is for that. So just think about it. What about the thing of human migration? All the people that are coming to the United States, you have no idea the conditions they're under. Find out. There are organizations here in California that are trying to help people that want to migrate. They're human beings, and Ma says every human being is special. It doesn't make any difference what language they speak. It doesn't make any difference what color their skin. Start looking at what you can do for some humans. And think about that. Janet has worked right now. You just got back from LA working with a Jewish synagogue that's going through so much grief. And she donates her time to help people that are going through difficulty. How many people have you helped? Maybe this week. Let's start out 2024 helping people, because Ma says that's the only way we're going to survive. It's kind of hard to hear from a spirit guide. The only way the people of Earth are going to survive is to start helping each other. And that could be said about every business. That could be said about every school, because he says we need to realize we're not alone. We need to start helping each other. And he says that there's people that are going through places like Ecuador, Venezuela, Chile, and telling them, if you want a good life, go to the United States. And so if you're a person and your children are starving and people are raiding your house and you hear that, you'd want to head here, just like they did during the gold rush, or just like they did during everything that it started this country. People came here for a better life. And so people are still trying to get here for a better life. So see what you can do as far as taking some of your time and helping people that need help. And there's a lot of them out there. Okay. Now, what about real estate? This year is a good year to buy. Interest rates are going to be down. It's going to be good. Anytime someone says to me, what should I invest in? My guide always says property. He said, they're just not making any more. He said, anybody who wants to invest and now is invest in property. And he doesn't care where you're investing in it. But once you get some property in your name, there's a sense of pride that is very positive. And so start looking at what you can do, or helping your kids get a place or something like that. Let's start looking at what you can do, because real estate is going to improve in price, but its interest rates will be dropping and be easier to get them. Now, the cost of goods, there's going to be a slight raise. We're all going, oh my gosh, this loaf of bread used to cost me 19 cents and now it's $1.25. You know, there's so many things that we're complaining about. And so, but yeah, it's not going to be major, but the cost of goods is going to go up. So you've got a double thing here, that employment is still going to get better. Cost of goods is getting a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit more expensive. Interest rates are down. And so know that you can work with that to your own gain. Because for some people, financial growth, financial income is how they view themselves. If they have money, they feel that they're prosperous and successful. For me, I don't care how much money you have. I want to know what's in your heart, not in your pocketbook. So when you think about that, what is in their heart? And accept that about who these people are. What's the most exciting thing that's going to be coming up? The Paris Games. We got the Paris Games coming up in June. And I don't know about you, but I love watching the games. I've been doing that for forever, it seems like. You know, I watched Jesse Owens win. I just, it's one thing that being an old broad is so great, because you've seen all these things. I had a revelation. I was talking to a young man about when I was in high school. I was helping a person put on a party, and one of his guests was Tab Hunter. And it was all gay men, and Tab Hunter showed up, and he was the host's cousin. And this guy looked at me and said, "Who's Tab Hunter?" And I thought, darn, I am really getting old when I'm naming somebody I thought was one of the best movie stars at that time. And in all the magazines, and this guy who's in his 50s has no idea who I'm talking about. But it's interesting when you look back and see all the people that you knew and what's happening. But anyway, the Paris Games are going to be exciting. Be careful if you're traveling, because they've detonated some explosives during the games before. I don't see it happening, but just be a little bit careful. The weather, just as I said, the earth changes. We're in a warming cycle, gigantic ice shifts, earthquakes, tsunamis, flooding, fire, all of those things that have to do with the country. Be prepared. Don't say, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. It is. So if you don't have a fire alarm in your house, get one. If you don't, just think of what you can do to protect yourself from these things that are happening. Okay. Do we have questions? I had some people who wrote me, and I answered their questions, and because they're personal. But now, do you have any questions that you would like to ask me that have to do with general things, or that you think that the people watching would appreciate the answer to? If you do, put a little hand up.
Absolutely. This is your chance to ask Doti and MAH.
You all are happy with life and you don't have a single question to ask a psychic?
Oh,
yes,
Linda Lambert.
Hi, Doti. So I was just
how do I get her?
Oh,
Janet.
Can you hear me?
Linda.
Hi.
She is speaking. She is speaking.
Yes.
How do I get somebody when they ask me something? How do I push how do I answer them?
You just
Hi.
answer right where you're at, honey. They're going to talk about what they want to know. And if they are on your visual, you just.
Well, Linda Lambert, put her little hand up.
Okay,
Hi.
Linda.
Yeah.
Okay,
And so
Linda,
you
go
just
ahead.
you need a question from her?
Yeah.
Yep. Go
Linda,
ahead,
can you
Linda.
speak?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Linda, turn on
Yes.
your oh, here, we can do that.
My speaker's
Okay.
on. Can you hear
From
me?
here.
Yes, we can hear you,
do
Linda.
Oh.
Here's
We can
Okay.
hear you. Reverend
And
Dottie,
right
can
there.
you hear Linda?
And
Can you hear Linda?
okay, Linda, can you speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
What is going on?
I don't know.
You can't hear her?
Janet.
Janet, what's going on? I
No,
can't hear
we
you
can hear
either.
her just fine.
What?
Dottie, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I
Okay,
can
you
hear.
hear me?
No? Okay.
Okay,
Now you can
hi.
hear Linda.
Thank you. It's Linda.
Okay.
Lambert.
Beautiful.
I was just wondering what you see for about my I'm having some digestive issues, my stomach.
Oh, my guide says, please go in and have it checked, because there's something that he says is just like drying out. And, but it shouldn't be, because you drink water, you are pretty conscious about that. And Ma says that we want them to do a test on what's happening in your digestive system. Because for some reason, Ma says your liver is not working quite as well as it should.
Okay.
How that has to do with your stomach, I don't know. But any of you that are nurses might know what happens if your liver is not working as well as it should, why your stomach would hurt.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful. We have Sheila. Sheila.
Sheila,
Hoolan.
where there? And
Hi
I
there.
tell you, Sheila, are you
Can you
talking?
hear me? Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
yes, I can.
Okay, great. My question is, how do I find and where will my spiritual gifts take me this lifetime?
Right now, what you need to do is just calm down. You're worried about too much. And Ma says it's time for you to just say, I can't change that. I'm going to stop worrying about it and then just calm down and then start helping other people. But you can't help other people when you're worried. Do you understand that?
Mhm.
So that's what's going to help is if you can calm down and then you are very good at talking to other people. And so if you're going to a church, if you're going to a community center, wherever you're going, and somebody says, you say, well, maybe I can help. What's going on? Be a little bit more outgoing and a little bit suggesting to people that you're there to hear them.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Uh-huh.
Beautiful. Beautiful question. Sheila, I think we could probably learn from that in a bigger global way. All righty, my friends. We have Dottie and Ma here. Let's hear some questions.
Well,
Dottie?
yes.
Sonda?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sonda.
Is there any perspective on the economy, how we're going to fare this year?
That's what I'm saying. Cost of goods is going to go up. The interest rates are going to go down. It should be a good year for people who want to go into business or the people who want to be enterprise. There's a word like that. Enterprising. It would be a great year to be able to take advantage of all that.
What about the stock market?
It's going to be up and down, and but it's not going to waver. We're not going to have a crash. And we're still going to stay pretty level. It's going to be up and down just like it has been. I'm not sure what's going to happen with crypto coin because when I asked Ma what's going to happen with that, he says it depends on who's going to be in charge, which doesn't make any sense to me because I don't know anything about it. So, but it's one of those things that's still out there. But the basic stock market seems to be, it's going to be up and down. It's going to depend there again on the election, but we're not going into a recession or a depression.
Okay. Well, last year, I think you had predicted that neither Trump nor Biden would win. Is that still the feeling?
It is that neither of them are going to win. There's going to be a dark horse that's coming in, but it doesn't look like it shakes them as much as everybody was feeling last year. Last year there was somebody on the they could see, my guide could see in the future that there was somebody that was going to be coming in, but for some reason that person didn't materialize like the Ma thought they were.
Okay, thanks.
Right now, it looks like it's Trump and Biden. We're worried about President Biden's health. He's going to have a health issue that's going to be pretty rough. That's why Ma says to really think of what you can do to get Kamala's energy to the forefront so people can see that she could handle a position. Right now, nobody knows who she is. And so it's one of those things that you need to do, and you need to think of who do you want as a running mate for Donald Trump. And start work. See, we can work on elections. Every one of us can put energy in, but we don't. For some reason, we sit on our hands and say, "Oh well, whatever's going to happen." No, I used to picket. I mean, Janet and I used to march and picket, and we used to get out the vote and go knock on doors and call people. And for some reason, folks aren't interested in doing that. Our younger people aren't interested in doing it because they don't feel it makes a difference. I personally know it makes a difference if you can get everybody you know to move in the same direction you're going. It really helps. Okay.
Beautiful questions.
Who else?
Who else would like? I'm looking for those raised hands. Ivy.
There-
Ivy.
Yeah, Ivy has a hand up.
Yes.
Hi, I had a question about my work. What are some things I should focus on to kind of help my community of students and staff?
What you should do is with your students, start interacting with them, meaning asking them questions like, what do you want to do? Or what do you like? I keep getting that what Ma's saying is your students don't know that they can ask for things. They seem to feel that they have to come in and be there and learn what you're going to teach them, but they don't have the freedom to ask you questions of things they want. How old are your students?
14 to 22.
Okay. Say to them sometime, hey, how many of you know how to balance your budget? How many of you know how to, something that gets them thinking about themselves, not just about the classes, because you're dealing with young adults that have to step out and get a job, know how to save money, know all these things that quite often we don't teach them in school. But we don't know they don't know it if you don't ask.
Thank you.
Beautiful. And
Are
Kate.
there-
Oh, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
Ivy?
Go ahead, Ivy. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. Are there any specific health conditions that I should kind of focus on? I'm a school nurse for the special education department.
Right. Yeah, mental. You've got a lot of people that you are there for that mentally don't realize that you're there for them. And I know that sounds kind of bizarre, but they know that you're supposed to help them, but they don't know how to ask. That's the biggest thing Ma's saying is start letting all the people you work with know they can ask you things. Because especially 14, 15, 16, there's so many things they want to ask about, but they don't know that you're open to answer it for them. Let them know that there's no question they are going to ask that is out of bounds.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for the work you do, Ivy. It's wonderful.
Right.
Now we have Kate.
Kate, where's Kate?
Oh,
Kate,
Okay. Kate?
Kate?
unblock your, there you go.
unmute.
Where
No,
are
she's unmuted. Kate?
Oh, right here. Her hand's up.
There
Her
you
hand's
go,
up.
Kate. Can you unmute?
Well, there she is unmuted, actually.
Yeah, she is unmuted. Kate, are you
Kate.
here?
Okay.
Kate Clark? Now we hear you.
Oh, yay. Great.
Yay.
Yay!
There you
Okay.
are.
That's the problem with switching from headphones. I just wanted to say, Dottie, thank you for having us tonight, and thank you for kindly answering my email. The question that I had, my email was about my family business, so I want to ask further questions about that. But the questions that I had was, I'm currently working through an eye infection, and while it's getting better, the feeling and out the hour the danger seems on. So I wanted to ask just a quick question of if the pain is going to subside, hopefully anytime soon. All things like in an hour would be a fabulous answer, but I also wanted to ask about the topics of crime and homelessness, not because I'm worried about those topics, but living in the Bay Area, I think it's something that affects.
Kate, I cannot understand you. It's like you're talking and somebody's talking on top of you. I'm getting reverb.
Oh,
There.
So helplessness and what?
Yeah.
homelessness and petty crime.
Petty crime
Mhm.
and
Say again.
homelessness.
Yeah, can you hear?
Now we
Yeah.
can.
You're saying homelessness
And petty crime.
and petty crime?
Yeah.
That's correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. And this is not just what's going on here. It's going on all over. I mean, all over the world, not just here. A friend of mine just traveled to Africa and said you wouldn't believe what's going on in Johannesburg and Cape Town. And then another friend of mine just got back from Vietnam, and that's unusual, but they're having the same kind of problem, and it's frustration. People, and it's kind of geared by what's going on with television or things that they can watch on different devices. Because when they watch it, it shows that everybody has something, and they don't have the money to have what it looks like you need to have fun or to enjoy yourself or to get a mate or, And so what happens is they're trying to, it used to be called Keep Up with the Joneses. And that's what's happening. If all the kids in school are wearing a special kind of watch, the kid that isn't is going to try and find a way to get one. So the thing there, Kate, is that with homelessness, the same thing. A lot of the homelessness is people who are mentally unable to take care of themselves, but we haven't set up enough ways for them to find some place to go. They don't know how to get in touch with the people that help them. So for those of you who are in the caregiving, find out how you can get out and reach out to people. And it's not just the young, it's also the elderly. I get a lot of people who are going through elder abuse, and they have no idea that there's things that in place that can help them. And that's the same thing with what's going on. So it's all about this community I was talking about. If somebody knows they can go a place and talk about these things, quite often they have statistics. They show that when there's more community in an area, there's less crime and less homelessness. So I there again say, get involved. You as a thinking, working person, get involved in helping, even if it's a next door neighbor who you notice is not, it doesn't look like they're very healthy. Ask them what's going on. Take them a bowl of soup. It used to be that neighbors would help neighbors, and we've become so isolated that we're not helping others. So my feeling is a lot of the things that are going on, let's start out. If we see a home where there's kids and no mom there because mom has to work and the kids are getting into stuff, go over and just say, hey, just talk. Just a lot can be done by individuals to make a community.
Thank you. That's very helpful, especially having young kids, especially the last example of helping out, in an easy way with some kids. I see a lot of kids who could just use that extra part-time or whatever that could be. So thank you for that example. The other question that I wanted to ask, but my headphones were acting funny, so you heard my kids' TV show in the background, is I have an eye infection that I'm working through right now, and it's painful. I can feel it every, moment, which the minutes seem long. And I was wondering if relief would be coming soon.
Yes, and have you gone in to have it looked at?
Oh, yes, I'm on a variety of treatment things.
Okay, because I don't know why my guide says this, but he says that it's not an infection. There's actually something in your eye.
Oh, that's
Can't you feel it? Don't you feel like there's something kind of there?
Yep, and I did have an infection, so the infection's gone, but I definitely
there still feels like there's something there. and
Yeah.
it feels very tiny, but it just irritates enough that your eye can't heal. And so do some irrigation with some warm water. Janet, do you have an idea? Since you're a nurse, do you have any idea what she could irrigate her eye with?
Well, that would be the best thing, warm water.
Yeah.
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 You don't want to put too many foreign objects in your eye, but I would go back, maybe recommend going back to check in with your doctor, and see if there's some more, maybe some things that they missed in
Thank you so
identifying
much.
the original
Yeah.
effect.
I have
Yeah,
a
and-
scar in my eye now, but it sounds like it's probably more than the scar. So just as things clear up, they can also see more. So I wouldn't be surprised to learn that there's more to the story. So thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay. Okay,
Beautiful,
next.
thank you. Who else? Come on, let's see those raised hands. This is a wonderful opportunity, my friends.
I see Ed. Ed, did you come by our house today?
Oh, Gerline Kiva. I'm sorry.
Wait a minute, Ed, what did you say?
Is this on topic?
Sure. I've got a question I want to ask.
So we have a couple of hands up right now.
Okay,
everybody.
okay.
Okay, so we have Gerline, and then we have Teresa.
Okay, Gerline, what's the question?
Hi, Dottie. Hi, Ma. I know Ma has suggested writing for me a couple of times, and I'm just wondering if there's any topics that Ma knows that I should write about. Just wondering
What
to
do
start
you
writing
know?
about.
Okay, well, let's start out with what do you know about?
I could say I know some stuff about spirituality, psychology, mental health. Yeah. But it's all just very general as well.
No, but it isn't, because you're also good with kids. So what would you do to write a children's book about mental health?
Right. I've actually thought about that a couple of times.
Yeah, Ben Ma says children's books are really selling. And so find somebody that is good at illustration. So it's going to have pictures. So a young child, you can decide what age, something between 5 and 7, 5 and 8, and they'd pick it up and it would reflect them and how they could be happy in their life and what they need to do to help their mental problem as far as being sad or feel unloved or unwanted, but so they can find some tools, because you're really good at giving out tools to young kids. And so my guide says, and you're a good writer. So let's look into children's books.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. So we have Teresa, who is next.
Okay, Teresa, there you are over there. Yes. Yeah.
Just curious if there's any suggestions on how to spend my free time, or even professionally, potentially, to make the most of 2024.
Do you want to do something that's fun or do something that makes money? And the reason I'm asking you that question, yeah, that's what I thought. And the reason Ma's asking that question is you need to spend some time meeting people that are fun, whether it's dancing or singing or hiking, or we don't care, but something that's fun for you. You're good at helping other people, and you're good at being there for people. But what are you doing for you? And Ma says, think of this year as a Teresa year, and start, meeting new people with new ideas and new philosophies that are enjoying life. And we don't care how they enjoy life, but let's find those people that every time you see them, they're smiling, and say, I want a little bit of that. And ask them what they do. Because you're open to that. I mean, a lot of people, you and I have that in common. I can walk up a perfect stranger and say, "Hey, what are you doing? I like the way you look. Yeah, you got great hair." I'm always at, "Hey, you got great hair. I love that color on you." Or, we were at the IHOP last week, and this woman came walking by, didn't speak English, and I said, "Excuse me," and she stopped and looked at me, and I said, "I love your dress," and she goes, oh, and I said, and it looks so cozy. And her husband translated, and she just beamed for the rest of the day. And it's so easy. You just talk to people. Tell them you like their looks. Tell them you like their glasses. Tell them, oh, that looks so good. And you'll be surprised how much better you feel after you've said something, sweet to somebody. And you all have the ability to do that. Okay? But start meeting new people that are fun.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, and Nancy, your hand is up.
Next is Nancy. That's right.
Hi, Dottie. Hi, Ma.
Hi there.
Everyone.
How's your health?
I think good.
Good. That's the first thing.
I think.
Well, I don't see you're getting the exercise that you planned on getting through this year.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I need to work on that.
Right.
So thank you. I wondered what your prediction would be about COVID and as far as it, going away or fading
It's
away.
not gonna go away until people take it seriously. See, when I talk about being an old broad, I was around when smallpox was getting taken care of. Everybody had to be vaccinated. Everybody. And we stopped it in 5 years. My aunt died of the plague in 1918. My mother had polio and had to be in an iron lung. And my brother died of AIDS. We are not a good virus family, okay? We get every virus, it seems like, that comes along. So what we do is we decide the minute we hear there's a new virus out, what can you do to stop it? And that's what a lot of people haven't lived long enough that they don't realize that they can stop these things. They are beginning to think, oh, well, COVID's going to come around every year. Well, no, it doesn't have to, any more than polio had to come around every summer, which it was doing in the late 40s. And kids were getting polio every summer. So it's you saying to people, I'm tired of these things. What do you feel we should do? And hear what they have to say. And then tell them, that sounds good, but what I feel is going to help. You don't tell people what to do. You just say what you feel. And it's a good way of passing on information and see what they have to say. But COVID's going to be with us just as long as there's all these other interesting diseases that are going to be with us, like the flu. The flu's been around for a long time, and people just say, "Oh, I think where were you this last week? Oh, I had the flu." And nobody's doing anything to stop it because it's not killing us. But it did at one time until they really got it on the run. So just start talking to people. And if they say, well, I don't believe in this and I don't believe in that, just say, oh, well, that's interesting. I do. You don't argue about it. You just say, oh, that's interesting. You have that viewpoint. Yeah. I lost 8 people to COVID before they came up with a vaccine. After the vaccine, I have over 60 people I know that have had COVID and none of them have died. So for me, that's proof that the vaccine helped. But that's only because I know so many people and I've seen it happen. So other people don't, so they haven't seen it. It's like anything. If you see it with your own eyes, you believe it a lot more than if you read about it in the paper or you hear about it from somebody.
That's right. Yes. Do you think there'll be another pandemic sooner than 100 years? Because I heard recently that we were going to be having another one sooner rather than later.
Well, it depends on what they're calling a pandemic. There again, the numbers are, we have so many more people on the planet. Okay. So it's, what used to be a pandemic, now it's just like, well, that's what happened. That was how many people were taken. It's people have got to get together and what they believe is going to help. We have so many fractures right now in what people believe. So that's who they are.
Yeah.
And see, I'm not afraid of dying. I kind of would like to know how. It doesn't mean I'm going to take a bottle of poison or anything else, but I wonder how that's going to be. That's interesting. And so you just kind of go, oh, okay. Yeah, dying isn't that big of a problem for me. When they say there might be a pandemic, oh, okay, that might be it. Who knows? So don't worry about it. That's the big takeaway here for this is stop worrying about things you can't do anything about. What it does is it reduces your immune system.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
You're welcome. And hey,
Thank
before you go, how's your brother?
Very bad.
Oh, because I'm praying. I've started putting him in my prayers. I started saying your prayers. Yeah. And so
We could really use that right now. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome, babe. Okay.
And you can evoke that, Nancy, for all of us, and we can all send him energy.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Now, next person up is Margie.
Margie, how are you?
Hi.
It was so nice to see you Sunday.
Yeah, it was. Okay. So for a long time, like a year or more, I feel like I'm on the verge of success with my business. And I never quite get there. And I don't know if I have a block or a sabotage or.
No, you're not a good at You're not a good advertiser.
I'm a day trader.
Okay.
I don't advertise.
Well, you need to get some other people involved with what you do so you can get that energy back. You see, what has happened is not enough people know what you do. Even when you said a day trader, you kind of dropped your head like it was like something.
I was trying to fix the camera.
So what you do is say, hey, I'm a day trader. And if you need any help, let me know. I can help you with this. And they'll say, oh, well, I don't know. And you say, yeah, and I take a percentage. Whatever you can do to make it work. See, you've got to put your energy out there because the universe can't see your energy right now.
Interesting.
So you need to get your energy out there. And the more people you can involve in it, and that's, usually a fairly solitary thing, but there's ways to make it where you involve people in what you're doing. Then you can call in the morning, hey, how did we do yesterday? That energy.
This angle.
But
okay, I have a class I'm in. I could participate a bit in that.
Yes, exactly. And that's going to do it for you. It gets your energy out there. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Good.
Thanks,
Good. I'm excited for you. Yeah. Good. And you might teach other people how to do it too.
I've tried that. I realized I have to be successful first.
No, not really. I know some of the best critics on writing tell you how to be a better writer, and they're not a good writer at all, but their criticism is excellent.
Yeah, well, I could criticize.
I will take it in a positive way and learn from it. That's great. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks,
Patty and
Patty and
Patty
Joyce.
and Joyce. Yeah.
Yes, Patty and Joyce are next.
There we
Hi,
go.
Patty.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, just fine.
Wonderful. Thank you for the great readings, Doti and MAH. They're really, really fantastic. And what I wanted to know, Doti, is that when you speak of the earth changes and the earthquakes that are becoming, I started sensing that a couple of weeks ago that we're going to start getting them. Is there a sense as to when they're going to hit California and the Bay Area?
No, because the earth doesn't know. Okay, I know that sounds weird. Just I have never lived more than 10 miles away from a fault line my entire life, which is not that unusual if you lived in California most of your life, And so the earth has always been kind of rumbling a bit. But what you do is you start saying, okay, the earth is going to rumble. I live in California. I'm going to protect it. I'm going to make sure that all my bookcases are adhered, so I'm not going to be inundated with books all the time, and my china cabinet is, protected. And you just start looking at what you can do and say, okay, I'm nice and snug. And you don't worry about it. Worry is if everybody let's say the San Andreas fault, If everybody tonight worried about it, we could have an earthquake tomorrow.
Got it.
Okay.
Yes.
You don't know how powerful your thoughts are. And so once you do, and instead of saying, I don't want an earthquake, it's almost like the universe hears the last 3 or 4 words. And that says, want an earthquake. So what you do is say, my area is earthquake free, or earthquake free. Okay, earthquake free. Yeah, I can do that. The Mother Earth can do that.
I love it. That's great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And Joyce, how's your voice doing, Joyce?
If you're going to do the deep voice, I'm going to go deep voice with you. I heard that, Dottie. I heard
that's
that.
sexy.
Beautiful.
It's still there. And I did have a talk with my doctor just to toss this in. And she's a wonderful doctor. And she says it'll be about another month before this scarring clears. And then things should just come back into whatever normalcy is. But this is just some scar tissue. I'm starting to notice a few changes. So that's what I do, because it did change my voice.
Yes. But it is sexy.
Oh, well, hello then. Okay.
You always have a wonderful voice, Joyce. I just want to honor that.
Thank you very much.
Is wonderful.
Thank you. I do have a question. I was trying to decide. I was sitting here, doing things. And one of the things that I do is I write. I write all kinds of things, and I have all kinds of interests. And but I wanted to ask you, I have a children's story that I am going to work on to finish it this year, on top of something else I'm working on first. And it's a wonderful little story. And what do I need to tell you to give you a sense of this children's story?
Yeah, you talked about it before. What you need to do is write it. And you need but you need somebody to do illustrations for you. Okay, it needs to have more. It needs to have more color to it. Okay, and so that they can. Because you're going to be giving it to kids that are at the age that they want to, they want to see it. They don't want to just hear it. They want to see it.
Okay.
So find somebody that's good at illustrating.
Thank you, because that's on the list. That's very good. Thank you. Okay.
Good. Hey, and you guess what you won? Corky and I'll see you tomorrow.
Well, what the heck? Okay. I'll get ready for that.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Yes, Ivy, you had another question?
Well, no, there was Josh was before Ivy.
Okay, Josh.
And so I want to.
Mr. Duberman.
Mr. Duberman, you're up. And then Ivy.
Josh, right here. You have to
Let's see, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes, now we can.
Oh,
Beautiful,
excellent.
Josh.
Lovely to see you, Dottie. Lovely to see everyone. My question is more specific to me, but maybe more general, and that is, I feel like I have somewhat limited energy and time these days, and want to know how I can decide how to use them best for me.
Oh, well, yeah, but what Ma says, stop worrying, number one, because you're taking up your playtime by worry. So just say, okay, every time you start to worry about something you can't do anything about, just what I tell people to do is say, release, release, release. And so 3 times is powerful. And you release anything that you're worried about, and you say it 3 times. I release the thought of that, and you say it 3 times. And then you grab something that you know is going to make you happy. And whatever that is, whether it's a walking stick to go for a walk, or whether it's a book that you've always wanted to just read the first chapter in, if it's something that you wanted to listen to on the radio or some music, but release the negative that you're thinking about and immediately choose something positive. For Corky, it's ice cream. Okay.
Every time. Works every time.
But find
I
something.
think that works for most of us.
But Yeah, but limited. So you say, okay, and when I let go of all that I'm worried about, I'm going to have a scoop of, marble ice cream or something. So you don't go out and have a carton of ice cream, okay? But so think of that. What can I do to release the worry and take something that's a reward that makes you feel good? And then start finding other rewards that make you feel good, because you love books, Josh. And so, maybe there's a book that you've put aside that one of these days you wanted to look at. Grab it and look at it. And it doesn't mean you have to read the whole thing, but just read a couple pages or an article in the magazine. And so you're going to keep giving yourself things that are going to make you have to stop worrying and focus on.
Excellent suggestion. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, babe. Love you. Okay.
Beautiful.
Yes.
And now we have Ivy.
Hi, Ivy again.
Hi again. My question is about, I've been thinking about starting to make videos or content about maybe like my situations in life, and thinking it might help others, and thinking about talking about spiritual concepts and my supernatural experiences. And
why don't you do a podcast?
A podcast. Okay.
And get a real catchy title for it. Okay. Ghosts and goblins and the who. Something that people go, what's this about? So you can get a title, and then and something that you get excited about. See, excitement builds excitement.
Yeah.
Negativity builds negativity. Worry builds worry. They just clump together like grapes. Okay, so you say, oh, I want to put out something that is going to get people excited. And what would that be? And something about ghosts is so exciting. That's how come we have so many ghost catchers and things like that on TV, is because ghosts are exciting. Corky and I do, we get rid of ghosts, and they're not that exciting. They're usually pretty stupid, and they usually are just hanging around because they don't know what else to do. So when people get excited about them, we've got more spirits in this valley here because we live on Native American land. And this is interesting, that something that Ma told me, that the indigenous people are the only people that after they go into spirit, they travel back to check out the land. All the rest of us, we could care less about the land. We're into spiritual growth and all that, but they are connected to the land in such an amazing way. So if you live near a creek, or you live near a little pond here in our valley, in the Santa Clara Valley, you're going to have a spirit wandering through every once in a while to check on the land. And that's something that I just love. And it would be great for somebody to write about. If you got a spirit, then buy some American spirit tobacco, which is pure tobacco, and do a little altar. And outside, you just put a little pinch of tobacco and you bless it, and you talk to the spirits, and they'll come take the tobacco. You'll go out the next day, the tobacco's gone, and you never hear from them again. So, I mean, that to me is a cute little story.
Yeah.
And
so
I would offer Reverend Dottie that also add some cornmeal, because
yes,
that will hit the masculine and the feminine.
That's exactly right. Yes.
What I've heard from.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great
Native
thing.
American elders. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, Ivy, just start writing. You're a good writer.
Thank you. That helps.
You're welcome. Linda, you're back. Hi.
Linda's next.
Yes. I have droopy eyes and I need to have eye surgery.
Okay.
What Ma see, would this be a successful surgery? Is this a good idea? Should I wait?
It's very successful surgery, and for you, it's perfect, because when you look in the mirror and you see your droopy eyes, you feel tired, and you're not tired. It's just your eyes look tired, and so lately your energy's been down, and that's one of the reasons. So let's get the surgery, and your eyes are going to be back and sparkly, and you're going to feel good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Beautiful. Next person up is Christine St. Clair.
Hi, Chris.
Hi. So, I've been going through kind of a dark night of the soul. And last year was the shits. My mom died, my little dog died. And business just really sucked. I mean, I had a blowout year. I had a fantastic, the best year of having my business in 2022. And then 2023, it just dropped off a cliff.
Okay. And one of the things Ma says is go back to all those people that you worked with and say, oh, did I give you my business card? Just say, I've been thinking about you and how much fun it was working with you. See, one of the things I do, a lot of people don't know this, but if somebody recommends 4 people, they get a free reading. Okay. And so it's amazing. People say, Dottie, how come you get so many good, people? And how come you get so many people? And of course I say, because I'm good. No, I say because I've got this program. But you're not utilizing the people you did such a good job that they know people. Everybody you help, everybody you work with knows at least 5 other people. So start just talking to them, just very good, how you doing and all that, and let them help you build your clientele. And that works really well. And when you talk about death is one of those things, babe, that some people it takes them 20 minutes to get over, and some people 20 years is too little. It just depends on how you are handling it. And talk to somebody. There's loads of people that we know that deal with death and dying who can give you some wonderful ways and techniques. I was talking earlier, and I'm reading a book called Dancing with Elephants. And for anybody who's going through that of having lost someone, this gentleman is an excellent writer, and his name is Jareem Sawatsky. I don't know if you can see, I don't think you can see that, and Dancing with Elephants, it's mindfulness training for those living with dementia, chronic illness, or an aging brain. And it talks to us about aging and what we can do to help people aging, and then what happens when they die. And there's so many wonderful books out there that you can get, and you can get them on tape and you can listen to. Let the people that are professionals give you help on how to deal with this, because it has been a really lousy year for a lot of people in so many ways, whether it was weather, whether it was job, whether it was people dying, whether it was kids having problems. I mean, it just seemed like it all came together in 2023 with the COVID, with everything else. And yours is so specific because losing a pet that you've had for a while and losing a parent, and both of those hitting you within months of each other, that is so difficult. And give yourself some slack.
Yeah, give yourself. I just want to back up what you're saying, Dottie, in a huge way. It's so easy to be hard on ourselves, Christine. And I would offer to you that, in that moment, be gentle with your own heart as you would be gentle with another person. And there is a great book that I've received a lot of solace from, and that is It's Okay to Not Be Okay.
Yeah.
It's Okay That You're Not Okay, I think is the name of it. And the author is Megan Devine. And it's a fairly new book. It's excellent. She is actually a mental health professional herself. But when she went through her own loss of her partner, she realized that she was, doing a disservice to her clients by not acknowledging the grief. It's a beautiful book, and I think you would really relate to it.
Good. Janet, why don't we make up a list of good books for people who are going through grief and hand it out at church on Sunday?
That's
I think
a great
it would be,
idea.
maybe not this Sunday, maybe next Sunday, but
yeah,
I think it would be a great idea. I know you've talked about it to ministerial classes, and you work with death and dying all over the world. For those of you who don't know, our Reverend Janet Child, she was even there at 9/11 and helped putting New York back together. I mean, travels all over dealing with death and dying, and she is a great source. So we can, the books that we can read, the things that we can do. Look for people who can help, Christine. And I really admire the fact that you're reaching out for help. That takes so much guts to reach out for people to help you when you're going through a difficult time. And I suggest that everybody do that. When they reach out, learn how. Yeah. Yeah. So we've got a candle there
Absolutely.
burning. Yeah.
That's right. The candle's in the screen for you, Chris, and for each and every one of you that might be dealing with loss or change or grief. What Reverend Doti is saying is very powerful. It's a very physical experience, and we have to be gentle with ourselves.
Right.
And with our own process.
And don't let anybody else tell you how to do it. They can give you suggestions, but you don't have to do it that particular way. I know a person and when somebody dies, she strips off all of her clothes and shaves off all her hair and goes outside and sits under a tree. And I said, how does that work? She said, oh, it's so great because I give all my grief to the ground and it takes it and I get grounded. I would feel cold and pretty, oh my gosh, I'm naked out here under a tree, but for her, it worked. And you never know. You never know. So find something that helps. If it's through talking to people, a reading, listening, singing, writing. Let's do something that helps, babe. Okay, who else?
Who else has a question or a thought or?
I have a question. If
Beautiful. Go right ahead, Lisa.
Well, thank you very much for that beautiful candle, Janet, and sharing that. And I so appreciate it. It's really beautiful. I could feel it through Zoom. So thank you for that. And Doti, you look fantastic. You look really great.
Thank you. Oh, I was going to say clean living, and then I stopped myself. I don't know. But yeah, thank you very much, Lisa.
All the little things around just, trying to hold on to the joy, waking up and being appreciative and making prayer and just, really keeping those thoughts as positive as you can, because, hey, it can be tough just day to day. So those little things are an inspiration. And
what I do, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Get up in the morning, take a shower, walking into my bedroom. I have a full length mirror. I look in the mirror, stark naked, no hat on. And I just say, you are gorgeous. Good morning, beautiful lady. And I just makes my whole day. I don't wait for anybody else to tell me, hey, you look good, but I appreciate it. But I have that energy about, I like me. I love me. I feel I'm wonderful. And it's easy to do. But when you're depressed or you're grieving, it's the last thing you want to do is think about yourself in that way. But try that. And maybe just even a little hand mirror. You look at yourself and say, you are wonderful. And if everybody could do that and start making that a daily thing of saying, you are wonderful, you talk yourself into being wonderful or beautiful or kind or loving or good.
That up because it reminds me of a healer man that I know. His name is Joe Whippich or Wiki Whippich. And the first words are, you are an amazing, delightful human being.
Right.
Or literally to change it the other way, I am, and to say that repeatedly to yourself over and over, almost as though you're dowsing until your inner person accepts that what you're to yourself as you look in the mirror. So I'm an amazing, delightful human being. And it actually works. I can feel like the more I say it, like the more the vibration.
That is wonderful. Yes, yes.
So one of the things that I was bringing up, because several people brought up children, I have a son, he's 21, he's also adopted. And it's fascinating to me on the path he chose to come into the world because he wanted to have certain experiences, and how I'm grateful that that we both came together. But one of the things he's also struggles with is he's a political science history major. He's at San Jose State. And so he actually wants to be a congressman. And so knowing the state of the world, I don't know if that's where he is, but I haven't deterred him. But this inside of my brain, I'm always going like, oh my God, he doesn't know maybe he doesn't really know what politics are like yet. I don't know. But
it might not be what you think it is.
Well,
because he's just young enough that he's seeing politics from a completely different space.
And I'm seeing already from the generation that's, we're not going to be here. And, so he's coming from that young, that fresh look. Does Ma have any input or advice to share with me on being a parent to him and encouraging his dream or his path or whatever that might be?
Just listen. And when he says, what do you think, Mom? You say, I think you've got an interesting idea, or I think that's a great idea. You don't have to give your opinion of it.
Right. Because I thought Taka, that I really don't want to pass it on. I don't need to pass it on. I just want to stay in a positive
right.
And let him figure it.
And that's what you do. And you just, that's an interesting, I love that. That's an interesting idea. Okay. And you and do that. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. And he has a really good belief in right or wrong. And that, I think, is what bothers you, that he's going to find out that everything's not right sometimes. And, but he is going to find out how to look at it in a way that it makes it right. So just accept who he is and love him dearly. He's a great kid. Every once in a while, he gets a little bit depressed.
Oh, yes, he does.
And so what Ma says, and when he gets depressed, don't say, oh, no, you're depressed. Okay. You just say, hey, what's going on? Let's go for a walk or something physical that you can do with him.
We've talked about a little bit about that on different things which can make him switch. And one of them absolutely is just getting outside and exercising.
Right. And you'll be amazed. And you can walk and talk, or you can walk and listen.
Beautiful. Well, we have got 3 people in line for questions. So we're coming up towards our time. So I want to offer Chris and Kathleen and then Sheila.
Okay.
Since Sheila's gone before, would that be okay?
Okay, well, why don't we do the 2 that haven't gone before, and then we'll get to Sheila. Okay.
Right. Perfect.
Okay. So
Chris,
Kathleen,
go ahead.
Oh, Chris. Okay, go Chris
first.
Brown.
Yes.
Sure. So there's an opportunity to deliver a message soon. What is the message that that the world needs or the community needs? What's the nature of the message?
Wait. Let me get this straight. You are asking me what Ma thinks the message for the world should be, or the message for you?
What is the? That's an interesting question, but the one I was thinking of is, what is the message for me to be delivering?
Okay, not the message you need to hear for you, but the message you need to deliver.
Right.
Okay. And what my guide says is the message you need to deliver is just to, tell people, this is who I am, and I want to get to know you. I don't know who this is, but my guide says there's somebody that you want them to know who you are, but the best way for them to know who you are is for you to find out who they are. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. It didn't to me at all. So,
I
okay.
have somewhere to put that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, good.
Beautiful.
Kathleen?
Sorry, there we go. I'm glad, children were brought up because that's kind of been on my mind too. How do you help young children sort of figure out who they are in the world without getting them kind of worrying too much about, I mean, they have to kind of consider money, as kind of, part of what they're going to become, but sort of like, what is the balance for kind of delivering kind of, maybe that message too to kids? It's like, as
You
far
can never listen too much. You can never listen too much with kids. And you start out and they say, well, I don't know what to do about such and such. And you say, well, what do you think you should do? Or how do you think you should handle it? Or let's look at what have you thought about? Let them get back so they can tell you where they are. Okay. And you'd be surprised what you find out about them when they know you're going to listen. Adults don't listen to kids. They say they do. Oh, yeah, I know what Johnny's doing. No, you don't. Oh, I know what. No, you don't, because you haven't listened to what they're doing. And so with any time you're around, I don't care whether they're 5 or 15 or 25, say, well, oh, that's interesting. And what are you going to do about that?
Mm-hmm.
And then really listen. Don't sit there thinking, well, I should tell them this, or maybe they shouldn't. I don't think they should. And you'd be surprised what they are going to say to you. And it's so amazing what they do say. I've had a lot of young people come through my house and through my home, and it was mainly just listening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And don't make them wrong.
Yeah.
And that is so hard for parents. They just feel that I know more and I know better because I'm older. And so you think about what did your mother say to you? She probably told you what you should do, but she didn't hear what you wanted to do. So be the listener and see what you can hear. And you're so good with books. You could listen to somebody and say, I think I read a book about that, or there's a book that talks about that. And say, and then pull it out and read a little bit. Just let whoever you're listening to know you're really listening to them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And now we have Sheila.
Hey, Sheila. Now, where'd you go? There.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
Yes, thank you.
On my computer, you're just sitting right next to me, and I couldn't find you. Okay.
Okay. I have a friend who's in crisis that I spoke to today. Their electric has been turned off. They need oxygen 24/7. I've been trying to problem solve with them, and I'm trying to take
how
care
old
of
are they?
myself.
How old
They're
are
60.
they?
They're 60.
Okay.
And they're
Quickly
disabled.
get on for the anything in your community that deals with the elderly. They have the ways that they can get around the electrical company. They have ways they can find some battery operated things. But immediately, because if they're having any problems, get to the elder group that helps. And if you can't find anybody, immediately call your assembly person in your community or her community and say, we have an elder that's got problems. This is an election year. This is one of the years that the people who are running for assembly want to show that they're doing something good. So, and even if they're not running, they want their party to look like they're doing something. And just call them. I've done that twice now, where I found out the assembly person called the assembly person. Once it was a male, once it was a assembly woman, and called and said, and they said, oh, we'll get an ombudsman out there. And they did, and the situation changed in 24 hours.
This is imminent, like tonight. This is tonight.
Yeah,
within hours of no oxygen tanks. So
and
it's like,
find out who, call a local hospital and find out if they have one of those that you can that's mobile. and say we've got somebody who needs oxygen and she can't afford it right now. Is there one of those units that you know where it is that she could possibly use? You just have to reach out and help and find ways that they can help with that. I know a lot of people who have been on oxygen and aren't now or are passed on, and their family still has the oxygen tank and don't know what to do with it. So you have to be a little bit connected and start calling people. Janet, what do you say about that?
Absolutely. And call 311 or 211. Those are like semi-emergency, referrals. And also there's a project, if she's in our county, there's a project called CADRE, which stands for Collaborating Agencies Disaster Relief Effort. And if she calls CADRE, they will link her up with resources.
I'm in Oregon.
Oh,
I'm
you're in Oregon.
Northwest
Okay.
Oregon.
Yeah.
North, south, Southern Oregon.
Okay.
Okay. And call, I use Siri for everything. Siri, who's my assembly person? How do I get a hold of them after hours? And how do and just ask what, I'm amazed. I'm probably one of the few people called Siri and asked Siri if I was having a heart attack before I called the ambulance.
So what I would offer also is do call, if it is that emergent, I would actually call 911.
Yeah.
And ask them.
I told them to call 911 before they ran out of oxygen.
Yeah.
Right.
I would suggest they do it now.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
When we get done, I will call them.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, we're just about done. So that sounds
Yes.
wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Well, Sheila, thank you for taking that extra step.
Oh, yes.
That's what I
thank
was
you.
talking about, is knowing something's going on and then you kind of like, I don't know what to do. But you took a step. You asked us, and now you can move forward. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's the kind of action and net of support that we can bring to and for each other.
And so, Janet, I see that there's some in the chat room. There's some messages. I mean, I can't see what messages
okay.
are.
They're just very simple. Thank you, Janet. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
And can we get an electronic list for us in the virtual world? And that's what I was saying absolutely too.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
good.
Thank you.
And I just want to thank our wonderful Reverend Doti Boon and Ma for this amazing, enlightening, incredibly powerful, wisdom sharing that we are doing here. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here and having the courage to receive the information, have the courage to move forward in what you can do with your heart and with your hands for our world. This is an amazing time. And I want
I was going to say, and don't forget your donation can be made to the Universal Church of the Master.
You are wonderful. Taking the words right out of my mouth. I don't even have to say it. And we are asking this year, if you could increase it to $15, that would be fantastic. If we could just up it a little bit. And for our next session in February, the second Tuesday in February, it will be Reverend Dr. Eileen Augustine. And she will be talking about finding light in places that are known as places of anger. Finding light in places that are known as places of anger.
Right.
And I think that's just going to be a great topic. And there's going to be a chance for interaction, for sharing. And I encourage you, please join us on these Tuesday nights. And be very, very gentle with yourselves as we move through this new year. Sometimes what can happen to us is we can have what we call the desert of January. We've been so busy during November, December, and sometimes it can feel cold and it can feel dreary outside. And so remember that you are a part of this net of community.
Okay, Janet, I just had a question. They said, where should we mail the check?
Oh, where should we mail the check? Let me give you the address of UCM.
Okay.
And do I know it?
I've got it if you don't.
1361, excuse me, South Winchester Boulevard, Suite 115, San Jose, California,
951 95138 95128
95128.
128.
Yeah, 95128. And it is on the website. So if you just go to the u-c-m.org website, the address is right there too. And we so appreciate that. We thank you so much for asking. That's great. That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. That means the world. And that you, with your spiritual and green energy, are going to help us continue to explore and be this light in the world. So each of you be gentle with yourself. And we often give as a homework assignment to do something that's fun and healing and delightful for you. You know,
Time
to
for ice
balance
cream.
out. Absolutely.
Time for ice cream.
Corky
More
says
ice
it's time
cream.
for ice cream.
Hey, Janet.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Janet, I know that you're having a little bit of the coming on of a cold, and I just want you to take very special care of yourself so you can be there on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Okay?
100%.
But I can hear it in you, and please,
100%.
please, please,
And we have one more person that is coming in, Luis. So I'm just going to let this person in, even though they're going to be.
Oh, hi,
ending
Luis.
soon. So.
Oh my gosh, Louise.
Yeah.
You're calling from Texas.
Oh.
And Christine O'Keefe.
Christine O'Keefe.
Hi, I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, we're just getting ready to close. So if you have any questions, if you want to ask one question of Ma, email me at safe, S-A-F-E, Doti, D-O-T-I, all one word, at AOL.com. Okay?
Beautiful. We're so grateful that each and every one of you came. Well, thank you, each and every one of you.